I should caveat probably what I'm going to say by pointing out that I'm kind of an advocate of the big society as it stands in its purest theory. And I'm very aware that when you do it on the ground, a whole load of people will misunderstand it, a whole load of people will do something different and claim it's the big society. So there's going to be a lot of bad mistakes, there's going to be a lot of rubbish in it, but I kind of try to give them the benefit of the doubt, because I think that happens when you're trying to do something very big. So I'm just going to run through quickly what it is not first, and then I think what I think it is, and then talk about some of the gaps that Anna touched on, and some of the influences that she thinks it draws from, and I'll stop as quickly as I can. So what it is not, I think it's certainly not about starting your own school. It's not about volunteering. It's not about cuts. I mean, volunteering and starting your own school are part of it, but that is not what it is. It is not that we roll back the state and we hope naively that altruism swings in and fills the gap. You know, that is not likely to happen, at least not in a kind of immediate time frame of single-digit years, rather than maybe tens of years. So if you think that it's all about, we're going to cut your hospital and we're all going to be our own nurses, it's just, that is not the case, and don't let people pretend to you that that is what it is about. Although volunteering does have a place in it, it's not the whole story. And as I say, it's not about cuts, because it was something that I think, although we hadn't named it as the big society in Tory circles, it was something that actually we've been thinking about and talking about in depth all the way through 2005, 6, 7, before Lehman Brothers was on the news. It's also not about government. I was quite struck, both in the report and what Anna said, about the extent to which she talks about public services, public sector workers, public services. It's not about cuts, it's not about public services, it's not about government, it's about culture, it's about the society we live in, and whether we live in the kind of country we want to live in, and how easy it is for you to play a part in changing the kind of country that you live in. And so I think it's more comparable, say, to the fight over 30, 50, 100 years against racism in society, in which government has played a role and funded things and done stuff and passed laws. It wasn't passive, it did do things, but government has not stamped out racism. We have all done that collectively, and there's still more work to do. And I think big society is a bit the same. It's a cultural change, which I would fully anticipate, if it was successful, would take 30, 40 years. But I think that's okay, because I anticipate living for 30, 40 years. So I want to live in that society. So a bit about what it is. The pithiest way I can explain it probably is in 3 chunks. So it's absolutely true that there is a bit which is about people who are already very involved in this kind of stuff, people who are hardcore volunteers of the type that NCVO and Anna outlined, people who run charities and work in the social sector and that kind of thing. It is about listening to them and making their life more easy, and that involves things to do with social finance and lots of quite technical stuff. So in that sense, a bit like the Office of the Third Sector, but kind of turned up a notch. But that's only one bit of it. At the other end of the spectrum, second chunk, is kind of the opposite. It's about people who are not really that involved in this stuff at all. And some people think this matters a lot, some people think it doesn't matter at all. So when I go for a walk and I see somebody walking the other way with their dog, I say, good afternoon. Right, I hope I do. Actually, often I don't. I just pretend they're not even there, and I kind of blank them out, and, you know, because I'm sort of English and worried that it's rude to say good morning to them. And I think that stuff is very important. I think it matters that when you go on a bus and somebody in the back of the bus is playing music on their mobile phone, I find that really irritating. I feel like I should say something, but I don't, and so a little bit of me dies. But I think it's also sad that they come from a subculture where they have a different cultural rule to my middle-class values, and they don't feel offended by it. These kind of issues, I think, are very important. And what can government do about that? Not that much, actually. There's a few policies, like National Citizen Service and things. But most of it is about talking about it. And I think what Cameron is trying to do there is to shift this from being an issue that is part of the politics pages of the newspaper to being in the sort of the style section or the Sunday Times magazine or something. He wants to shift it from being a purely political issue to talk about this to be something that we all talk about in the pub. And I think he's doing that quite well. And then the crucial bit, the bit that's in the middle, is about public services and how you can make public services support this. So there's a kind of supply side bit, which is freeing up public services so that they are open and willing and allow you to take action. And then there's a very important demand side bit about people wanting to take action and getting involved. So in that, I would say the Big Society Network is as interested in Bethnal Green Football Club as it is in Help the Aged. You know, it's about stuff which is small and informal and you and your mates as much as it is about a big charity which will now do a public service thing. I will close shortly.